Good afternoon. This afternoon, we're going to be interviewing Jack J. Arthur. Jack was born on December the 7th, 1926, Pearl Harbor Day, right, Jack?
Right.
He served in the United States Army during World War II. His highest rank achieved was Private First Class. This recording is taking place at the Clifford Thompson Post of the American Legion, 43 in Troy, Ohio. My name is Bob Shook. I am a member of the Miami County Veterans History Project Committee. I'm being assisted in this interview by Paul Holt and Carol DeHart. This interview is being conducted for the Miami County Veterans History Project in Miami County and the American Folklore Division of the Library of Congress, sponsored by the Clifford Thompson Post 43 in Troy, Ohio. Jack, I'd like for you to start out talking about your family and when you were growing up, what little town you grew up in and so forth. Tell us about that and your transition to school and then you going into military service, how that happened.
All right. To start with, I was born in Greenville, Ohio, and I only lived there for maybe a week or two, and my father and mother moved back to Troy. And I grew up here in Troy, and went to school here in Troy, and played in the high school band and a couple orchestras in high school, and until I was drafted, what was I going to say? But I just went on and we used to play at the rec hall. We still have a rec hall here after all these years. And Pop Dixon was the director of the rec hall then. And that's where all the high school kids would go after the games, football games and everything. And we really had a good time up there, and it was very well directed by old Pop Dixon. And then after that, I worked, while I was going to school, in high school, I worked at Dildine's Food Market up there on East Main Street. And I went in and filled up the produce racks and everything before I went back to high school. And then after high school, I went back to work at Dildine's in the evenings. And then that went on for quite a time. Then I started working for the G.C. Murphy Company. I worked there for quite a while after schools and all. Even when I came back, I worked a little while there. I took assistant manager training, and I got to be an assistant manager, but Mr. Davis was the head man over there at Murphy's then. So we left there, and he got transferred to Sydney, Ohio. So I was supposed to go also, but I was an old hometown guy, and I didn't want to leave my beautiful city of Troy here. And I must stay here with my wife-to-be. She was my high school sweetheart. And so I stayed here, and then where did I go from there? I don't know. Dildine's and there, and that was it. That was it as far as the days. I used to spend a lot of time on Pearson's Court. Bob Geiger lived up there, and Buddy Merritt, and Johnny Sayers, and all these guys. And we all had a wonderful time up there as we growing up through our childhood, I'll call it. And well, that just all went all the way through. But when I got out of my junior year of high school, there were 11 of us that turned 18 years old when we got out of our junior year. Well, of course, that meant we were going to be we were going to get a letter sooner or later from Uncle Sam to tell us that we were eligible for being in the U.S. Army, and that's what we did. But it was quite a while before we actually got the letter. But then when we returned home from overseas, I never got to see any of them till I got home. But we went back to school. I know my mother took me up to high school and see about getting me back in so I could graduate. So we got lucky, and I even forget right now who the superintendent was, but he okayed everything, and all 11 of us made it back, and we all graduated in 1947. And then from then on, I went to work in.
Let's go back a minute. When you were drafted in the military, talk about that in your early basic training and so forth.
Oh, okay, we'll do. Well, when we did get the letter to report for our physicals, we got on the bus at the southwest corner of the public square, and the bus was there, and all the ones that were eligible to go, we got on, went to Fort Knox. Training, yes. We went to Fort Hague, Columbus, to get our physicals. And there were so many going through that we had to stay overnight even to go through the next day. And once we got out of there, we come back, and we were 1A. Some were 1A, some were 4Fs, they call them. And we went home too long until we got another letter stating that we were ready to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky. And we got on another bus at the southwest corner of in Troy, Ohio, and we all went there, and that is where things started to happen. That's where we started to, instead of being a young boy, we start getting to be a young man. But we went there, and we got off the bus in Fort Knox. They lined us all up and had a roll call. Then they told us to just take one step forward. And we took that one step forward, and that means we belonged to the United States military. And then we were taken from there and got rid of our civilian clothes and got into military clothing. And then we had started in on 17 weeks of training. The wars were going on yet, and we had, of course, the European theater and the Japanese theater. So in 17 weeks, we trained for both theaters. So many weeks on the European theater, and then we went all different terrain for the Japanese theater, and started in on that. And then when we were finished, we had, even though during about halfway through our training, Germany surrendered, and then about a month and a half or 2 months after Germany surrendered, the Japanese surrendered. So we finished our training, and I will say, and everybody was there, that the training we had, we were well qualified to go into combat. But since the war was over, they shipped us to, we went to Camp Pickett, Virginia. And while we were there, we got processed to go overseas. And we got processed, and about the same time, about the same day, we went down to just around the corner, more or less, to Newport News. And there, I never will forget this. It was one of the biggest ships that I have ever seen in my life. Here's a picture of it here. It was the USS America in peacetime. It was the USS America in peacetime. It was built in 1940, right here in the United States, 723 foot long, and it had small armor on it. It was manned by the Navy and Marines. Well, we got there, and the Red Cross was there passing out donuts and coffee, and had two gangplanks going up to it, and there was 8,000 of us. 8,000 of us going on that ship. And oh yeah, but this ship, that ship there come in later. That one there. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Here's the picture of the ship when it was made into a troop carrying ship, a USS West Point, and it was enormous. It was an enormous ship, and it was all manned, like I say, it was manned by the Navy and Marines, and they had small guns on the stern and bow. And then as we got on that ship, we were all put into our compartments or so. A lot of the guys were sleeping in where the ballroom was, and they 5 or 6 bunks high. That's the way the bedding was. And then where they put us at, every night we went off deck and went in for our quarters. They put us in and locked the doors. I mean, they locked us in our compartment. This West Point made 26 voyages across the Atlantic with no escorts whatsoever. It was made 26 voyages over and back, and it was too fast to a running ship, and the German subs could not even attempt to blow us up, I mean to torpedo us. But it was just a wonderful ship and all. But then we went in, we found out we were headed for Le Havre, France, and we got off of the boat. We had an awful hard time going into the harbor and beachhead. I mean, it was something else. It's unbelievable to know that the men, the GIs that went in before we got there, how they ever made it. I mean, when we pulled in, it was full. It looked like a junkyard with German equipment, our equipment, landing barges that brought men in, and it was just unbelievable. And then this German helmet is when we got up on higher elevation from the beachhead, it was just a mess up there. There were German graves all around, the crosses in the ground, and some of their helmets hanging on them. There was anti-aircraft guns out there. It was just a junkyard all over. And another thing about Le Havre, France, too, in 1944, September of 1944, the troops couldn't get in because Germans had that so well fortified. It was just impossible for anyone to come in through the sea. And they were, one thing I noticed too, along the cliffs in Le Havre, France, the German had gun emplacements inside the cliffs all around the harbor. These big guns sticking out over the ocean to get anybody coming in on it. Well, anyway, so then we went we went up there and we got up higher elevation. And then I remember one thing, all the guys, there was a lot of guys there that had enough points to come home, to be shipped home. So we went over, of course, as, occupational troop. That's what we went all through our training, but that's what we ended up doing. And our American intelligence, the Canadians came in from the backside. That's why they got the Germans where they wasn't expecting that. And Canadians liberated Le Havre. And but then our American intelligence, they notified the people in France what we were going to do. But evidently, they must not have told them, or else they just want to stay where they were at, because our Air Force went over and just bombed the rest of the Havre all to pieces. The main city and all just tore them up. Wasn't nothing left. And we wondered why the people there that were left were treating us like they did, because they were very much upset with the Americans. Very much. Well, as we went through, we got up on flat ground and all going through all, like a forest, and all this stuff was in there, and they had warnings for booby traps. Don't pick up this, don't pick up that. And so we went on in, and before we know it, we was down to like a rail. They put us on boxcars, and they started hauling us across France, and we hit a little bit part of Belgium, and then we went on into Germany. Well, we were going into Germany, and we would stop every once in a while. They let us jump off and stretch our legs and all. It was real cold, snow all over the place. And when we got into Dusseldorf, Germany, I jumped off, and I couldn't walk. Found out my feet was completely frozen, and I had to walk flat-footed. I couldn't bend them. So there was an old shack, there were a couple of combat men in that were playing poker around a little pot-belly stove, and I went in there and took off my combat boots and put my feet up to the heat, and that's one thing I found out you don't want to do. So I couldn't go any farther, and these men took me and put me in one of the meat wagons for the Army and hauled me off to General 309th Hospital, and it just happened to be there in Dusseldorf. So I went in there, and I was in there for over a month before they could even get any movement out of my feet, and I thought for sure I was going to lose them. I mean, I really did. And I guess I thank the man upstairs for this, because I did after a month, and so I had 26 treatments on my feet. But after that, I got out. They took me up in this little village in Dusseldorf, and they opened the Jeep door up and let me out, and that was it. I didn't know where to go. I didn't have a place to go. I was left alone in this German village, and I just said, well, what am I supposed to do? So I just walked around, and finally found a bunch of GIs lined up. And I went and reported to the sergeant, and he said, well, where's your outfit at? I says, well, I don't know. They moved on. I've been in this hospital here. He said, well, go see the captain about it. Well, I went in and see this captain. I don't know who he was. And he asked the same questions the sergeant did. He says, where's your outfit? I says, well, it's gone. I says, I just got out of the hospital. I don't know where to go. he says, well, I don't know what to do with you. And I says, well, I gotta do something. So send me home, you know. But no. So he said, go out and fall in with tell the sergeant to fall in with those loads. Okay, well, I got on there, had a hard time walking all the time. The rest of my time I was there. And so we went, but this time here, we got on a train that had windows in it. Well, we went across Germany land, and we went into Rosenheim, Germany. This is what I look like getting ready to go out. Getting ready to go out on my garden, prisoners, and all this kind of stuff. And then another picture here. This is in Rosenheim also. Over here, and I had hair, if you can see. I had hair then, but that all went away. But then from Rosenheim, it was more or less like a suburb of Berlin, Germany. And we pulled a lot of guard duty. Our compound was right off of the Autobahn. And every day, a bunch of Russian troops would come by in their trucks and get out in front of our compound and march back and forth, and they would come up to right at our gate when we was on duty there, and they would, act so big and strong, and they would get kind of rough out there. And all we had to do was put a shell in the chamber, and they lay back up and went back out on the Autobahn again and start marching and doing all that stuff. They were those Russian soldiers were. They wasn't very intelligent at all. I'm sorry to say that, but they weren't. But then we eventually we stayed in Rosenheim quite a while, and then we started to move, and we went right on in to Berlin, Germany. And there was something there that you could really see what the British and Americans and everybody did in the bombings. The British came over in the nighttime, and the Americans were bombing in daytime. And there wasn't any, all the young men were there, young men, I mean small kids. All the rest of them were either capoted or in prison camps. But we stayed there quite a while. And we pulled a lot of guard duty all around the area. And a lot of the American officers started to come over and bring their families. So we was guarding a lot of homes over there. And we did that. And then as time come around to get close to coming home, well, they called me in the office, the captain, another captain, they all captains. And he said, I see on your records where you played a musical instrument. I said, yes, I played the trumpet. He says, well, I'd like for you to take a couple men, a dozen men, he said, and teach them how to blow the bugle. Well, I says, now I don't know if I want to, and he cut me off right away and says, I said I want you to do this. Well, I did, but I only got 3 men. That's all I got altogether. And one of them didn't last long at all. He made mistakes after mistakes. And we didn't blow that many calls. We blew reverently in the retreat, and of course I played taps every night. And well, it ended up Henry McNess from Buffalo, New York. He was the only one there, but he was blowing retreat one time, and he goofed up, and instead of starting in where he left off, he walked off and left all of the men standing out there. So that was it. So I was the permanent. Here's my bugle. That bugle was, it's been through combat. It never looked like this because I had to have it shining as could be. But it was through a rough time. I got it hung up in my bedroom at home today yet. But so that's about the way. I think. Let's see. When we were ready to come home, we went to Bremerhaven, Germany. Bremerhaven, and on Bremerhaven, that was a big German air base, and when we got there, we had to empty out our duffel bags and lay everything out on the ground, and then I had some more German, like you say, souvenirs, and well, I didn't get to keep them because they wanted them more than I did, and they took them away from us, and that was okay. But anyway, so then we went to Bremerhaven, and right there at Bremerhaven, we got on this ship, the George Washington. That's the George Washington, and here's the way it looked with us guys on there. It was just packed like sardines on that ship, and but we made it on there, and believe it or not, on that ship I had the job all night long. Get back on the West Point, it took us 7 days to go over, and I forgot to say, about 800 miles off the coast of the Havre, the captain said we hit one of the worst storms he's ever seen in 25 years. And I'm telling you, that was scary looking. It was scary. We couldn't be on the deck, of course. We had to be in our quarters. And it was really, really rough. But we made it. We should have been in the Havre in 7 days. But it took us, what did I say, 8 days or 7? I don't know, but it was 7 or 8 days it took us to leave there. But then on the George Washington here, we made it back in 6 days. But I worked down in the galley all night long, prepared stuff for the guys on the ship, helped get stuff ready, broke up 17 crates of eggs. And it's not nice to say now, but we unborn chickens went into it and everything. Now, this is the truth. We had great big enormous stainless steel barrels, and all these eggs went in there, and then we stirred them up with wood paddles. And it was something else. But then we made it across, and even when we got off, came down the gangplank, we came down off of the ship, and there was still a little band there, and people to greet us there, and made us feel good. And then we went, one beautiful sight of which, we came by the Statue of Liberty, and she was a beautiful lady when you came by her and see her again, or see her for the first time maybe, and not close. And so then we went to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey. We had it made there. We didn't have to make our bunks or nothing. There was curtains on the windows, and real nice. The only thing they did tell us, remember you're back in the States now, so watch your language and be nice, So we did. And then from there we went to Fort Meade, Maryland. And Fort Meade, Maryland is where I got my mustering out pay, and a guy by the name of Ralph Stein and I got on a Greyhound bus and headed to come back home. And I always remember we came down Boone's Hill out here, and the first thing I noticed was that the elevator. That wasn't that big tall thing there wasn't there when I left. And I said, I wonder what that is. Well, it was the elevator. They built that while I was going. Well, then we went to Camp Kilburn in Fort Meade, Maryland. And believe it or not, I don't know, Casey Roselle, Mary Catherine Roselle's one son was working there. He was in the service, but I went up there to get my monthly now pay, and there it was Casey. I said, well, my goodness, Casey, how are you doing? You know, and he couldn't get over that either, running into each other after all these years. But so that's it. We got discharged, got on the bus, came home. Really nice to get back home again. And then we was so much more matured and growing up than when we left. And then we, like I said earlier, we got back into school and graduated in 1947. And even though I told Bob here that after 17 weeks of training, and we were all qualified for combat at that time, because that's what we did for 17 weeks, train and learn how to protect ourselves and protect the people here. And awful to say, but we learned how to, in the mood to kill. You know, that's true. That's the way we were taught. Well, anyway, yeah. Here's some things. This is my some of the patches I had. I got a German medal there. I got a German medal and everything, and the different patches. The one down at the bottom over here is my 78th Division 309th Infantry patch. And the one down in the corner that don't have anything on it but just like a tank. I started off training in tanks, but I got off of them. I didn't care for them too much. And then up there in the corner is my Berlin District patch. That's the patch we wore while we was in Berlin. And up in the other corner is the pass I had to get on and off of our base, our barracks. And some of those other things on there, that was one of the Third Army things they started issuing out, that one pin. This one here, that was one of the Third Army patches we got. Please.
Three
Yeah.
bars? What's the one with the 3 bars on it?
The 3 bars?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's just during training what we qualified on to fire all these different guns. There's submachine guns and 30 caliber machine guns, the M1 rifles and all of them. And it was just and of course the ribbons up there, the European theater and the occupational ribbon and the victory ribbon that we got. But that's not all right now. And these 3, I do know. I don't speak English that good or read German. I mean, these badges here were some kind of German things. I don't know. To me, the only way I know, if they had unions over there, it looked like maybe they had something to do with unions. I have to find somebody who can read German and tell me what it says. So otherwise, that's more or less my story of my time over there. And there's a lot of things I can't say more. I'll think a lot of things to say, but I think I've talked enough maybe for you. But
Tell us about your transition to civilian life, Jack, once you came back,
oh,
your family and so forth, and work and marriage and
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. Thank you, Bob. We came back, and of course, I got back into school and graduated in 1947, and I graduated with my little wife, Joanne. Her name was Porky. We called her Porky all through school even. And she wasn't heavy or anything, but she was just a little girl. She used to work up at Dick Williams' meat market when Dick was here. And she was so short, and she worked back in the meat department. And they had to get a box for her to stand on to read the scales. And she's still a little girl. She's 82 years old now. But we've been together. We'll be married 64 years this September. And she's just fine. I have two. I got married in 1948. And we've been together ever since. And we got a wonderful son. He's 62 years old now. And my daughter will be 52 years old in August. Jack will be 62 the 18th of this month. And my one granddaughter will be, Jack's oldest daughter will be 34 the 17th of this month. And then our other granddaughter lives out in Minneapolis, Minnesota now. She'll be 32. And I've got two great-grandchildren now, two great-granddaughters, and we love them both very much. And in fact, I'm going out the 20th of this month. We're going to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and stay a week just so I can see her. We don't get to see much of her, but they come home once in a while. But then the other daughter, we get to see her about every week. She comes on and goes to church with us and all, and brings little Allie along. She'll be 2 in July. And Isabel out in Minneapolis, she'll be 3 in July. But otherwise, I came back and went back to work at, I went back to Murphy's for a while. Come back in again, but I still didn't go to, Mr. Davis was already going, but I was there just a short while. Then I got married in 48. I got married in 1948, and I decided, that's what I was going to get transferred to Sydney. I didn't want to go, and that's when I stayed home and went to work in the factory. I went to work the Troy Sunshade Company, and worked back in the cotton room where we filled the cushions and all and chased lounges. Worked there quite a while. Then I got laid off after about 6 years of service, and I went over to Hobart Corporation and stayed there for 35 and a half years. And I got out of there, and I retired in 1988. And then I took the money I saved up over there in Hobart, and my wife and I took off for Hawaii. And we went to see Pearl Harbor, of course, and the Arizona and the monuments and all, and it was a very enjoyable time. But then Jack was born in 1950, and Liz was born in 1960, 10 years difference. But we planned it that way, but we had to raise 2 families. But anyway, so my wife, Porky, she was working at Hobart Manufacturing in the offices, and then I was working at Troy Sunshade, and then in Hobart. But that's about it. I did a lot of fishing, and I love to fish, and I fly radio-controlled airplanes now. I fly airplanes. I took lessons in real ones, a Cherokee 140, but I had a couple of little mini strokes. I found them out when I'm a diabetic. And I had open 4 bypass, open heart surgery over the years here. And I still go and take my therapy twice a week at Upper Valley. So that's the story. I just enjoyed Troy, and Troy's a wonderful town, and it always will be, and it's the best one, I would say, in the whole area.
Jack, that's a wonderful story. Thank you so much. Any one last comment about your reflections back on your military service at all that you might just say, I could summarize it by it was this kind of experience or what?
Well, like I said earlier, it was, I mean, when we went into the service, it was, well, we was, scared. I mean, with the war still going on and all, we didn't know what to expect or what we were going to be doing. And the training we did have couldn't have been any better. The instructors and all, a lot of them were men that returned back home from combat, and they knew how to train us also real good. But and like I said, when D-Day came around and all that, and we didn't get over there till afterwards, I regretted. I really regretted that we were qualified for combat, and I regretted. I was happy the war was over, but I would have liked to have been a part of the invasion. I mean, I really would have. But didn't work out that way. But I seen what the boys did ahead of us and made our way possible to go through the way we did. I've only got shot at once, and that was at Temple Hall Air Base, and he missed me and knocked the light out of my head. That was it. And it was just some experience that we'll never forget, and what we seen, and what the men did that went in before us. Just imagine what they had to go through. I did do about 3 or 4 guys from high school that went in a year or so before I did, and they didn't make it. One got it in Iwo Jima, and the other 2 or 3 got it in Europe. And like I say, now when we went into the harbor, I'll never forget that, these landing barges, and the way the Germans had that fortified. They just had it fortified something. You couldn't get in. But you could just imagine the first wave of guys come in off their ships, and the way the Germans were up there with everything, just they up there, just you're out in the wide open, and these guys come in and LST they were called or something. The barges brought the men in off of the waves, something like that. You can just imagine the feeling they had when the Germans were up there firing the way they were and everything they had, and then you had to get off of that landing barge and go forward. They, of course, which you know, lucky how very many of them in the first wave didn't even make off. Oh, another thing, I had to trade in my rifle to get this before I came home. And a lot of the rifles we were issued different weapons when we got over there. And they were, a lot of them were dug up out of the beach of the harbor that was underneath the sand. And they were all pitted. The boards were all a mess. And we tried to stand the inspections there after the war, and we could never pass them because our rifle was always dirty. So we got issued new ones, and then that's about it. It's just a wonderful experience, and like I say once again, I regret it that I couldn't have been in on an invasion or something. I couldn't help it. Yeah.
Well, thank you again on behalf of Clifford Thompson Post 43 of American Legion in Troy, Ohio. We really enjoyed your story, Jack, and thanks again.
Well, thank you very much.